Hey guys, it's Elle. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm here with a video chatting about romances that I have been obsessing over. I love doing these videos like every couple of months because I think it's fun to kind of recap like what has been my favorites from like wrap-ups and all of that good stuff. So the first book I want to talk about is Lady Isabella's Scandalous Marriage by Jennifer Ashley. I listened to this on audio in, January, because I read the next book in February, but I love this so much. I love a good historical romance, and I was in the mood for a historical. So this one, our hero and heroine had been married for years, and they had this whirlwind romance and courtship, got married in 9 days, and the heroine kind of starts seeing these really not great patterns in the hero, like he's drinking a lot, he's doing nefarious things, and she just is not feeling their relationship anymore, and so she decides to leave him. And so now it is 3 years later, and she is coming back into society. Everyone knows in society that they are separated, and he is an artist, and she kind of discovered that somebody had been selling his paintings without him knowing, or recreating paintings and saying that it was him, which isn't true. So she comes back into his life and is like, we need to figure this out. And so they're around each other again. It's forced proximity. She ends up having to stay at his home. And it's so good because they really have to face all of the feelings and emotions and thoughts that led to them separating. And this book is so good. It's so angsty. And Mac, the hero, he is just like kind of slowly realizing like this stuff that he did to the heroine. I mean, he realized it was bad, but he didn't realize like how much it affected her until now, and he just has to grovel a lot, and it is so good. This one is so angsty, and I love the suspense aspect of them trying to figure out who was selling these paintings and why they were selling these paintings. It was so interesting, and I just love a good Scottish hero, and he just really has to grovel for her forgiveness, and I love that in romances. So this one is so good, and I'm completely obsessed with the Mackenzie series. It's so good. Like, I'm reading The Duke's Perfect Wife, or I just finished it, and it was so good as well. So love this one. Definitely check it out if you want a really good historical romance to binge. Then I have All the Missing Pieces by Catherine Cowles. I had to mention this in this one. I read this at the tail end of December. I received an ARC for it, and this book is so good. It's probably one of my top romances by her because I just love the uniqueness of the heroine. She is a true crime podcaster, and she goes to different like towns across the US and does cases on them, or she picks cases and does her podcasts on them, but she really tries to be very organic about it and really just trying to help the family and the victim, which I really love. And I love watching true crime, but I only watch certain creators who really do support the families that are affected by these horrible things that have happened to them. So anyways, this one, she goes to this small town to work on a case of a girl that was kidnapped and assaulted, and she thinks it could be linked to other cases, and she thinks it could be linked to her sister's case because she has a twin sister that has been missing for years. And so she goes to this small town and she starts kind of sniffing around, scoping out the town, and the hero is the sheriff of the town, and he is like, what are you doing here? You're not going to stir up stuff from the past. And he very much does not like her presence there. And she's just like, I really want to try and help and solve this case. And he's like, no. They really butt heads at the beginning. But once they kind of start hanging out more and more, and he kind of starts becoming obsessed with her, they start working on the case together. And the girl that was kidnapped was actually his sister. So he just feels a lot of emotions about her coming to town and kind of drudging up the past, but she's kind of like, this could help so many other women that have been kidnapped or been a victim of this unsub. And so then we have this unsub and trying to figure out how this is all linked together. And it's so much fun. I love the small town vibe of this one. And she lives in her VW van. You can see it on the cover. and she has a cat, and there were just like so many cute, quirky things about this romance that I loved. And I love the true crime podcast aspect of it, that she was a podcaster, but that she really took all the time and care to really understand the pain of what these people have gone through, because she also connects it to her own pain. And I just loved it so, so much. I love them trying to figure out like what happened that night with his sister and just all of that. It's so good. Love the romance. He definitely falls first for her, and it is so, so good. I love this romance so much. Then I have The Moon in His Tides by Gianna Darling. This is her newest release. It is a MFM polyamorous, very scandalous taboo romance. So the hero, we have seen him in the previous books of the series. He is related to the Lombardi family, Elena, if you've read her previous like duets or anything like that. So he has moved. This is going back into the past because we do see him after this book in previous books. So this one, he is a chauffeur for a very wealthy couple, and he kind of makes a move on the heroine, who she is married to a very wealthy, well-known British actor who's Adam. And he kind of has this moment with her in the car, and she's like, oh my gosh, like that happened. And he's like very like embarrassed about it. So then he is trying to become an up and coming actor, and he has this play, and the other hero, Adam, ends up going and seeing his play and is like, I know what you did with my wife, and I'm not mad at it, and I want us to go into an affair, all three of us. And so he agrees, and he moves into their house, and they start having this relationship, and it is so good. It's very angsty, very, very spicy, and it's really interesting because we see this relationship develop between Adam and Sebastian, but Savannah, she kind of gets a little selfish, and a lot of the attention goes to her a lot of the time, and that's why some people don't love this book, but I feel like we're going to get so much more character development with the rest of this trilogy. But anyways, it's just so emotional and angsty, and I love this one, and I love the aspect of that Adam's an actor, but then he's trying to help Sebastian with his playwright and become an actor, and we just see like so many things in this book that I love. I mean, the spice is definitely there, but we see a lot of like character growth, especially for Adam, because he knows that he is attracted to men and he's not ashamed of it, but like he just still feels like, not like shame, I don't know, like hesitation, I guess. And we just really have to work through all of these emotions in this book, and there's still more to work through, especially in the next book. And it does leave off on a cliffhanger, but I love this one. If you want a really spicy, messy, angsty romance, I would pick this up. Then I have the Monsters trilogy by Rena Kent. I binge read the series in January, and it was so good. The first one is Blood of My Monster. This is such a fun, like, mafia Russian Brava romance where the heroine, her whole family has basically been murdered except her uncle and her grandmother, and she is like, I need to figure out who killed them. So she enlists in this mafia army that the hero has, and she kind of becomes the right-hand man of the hero, like goes up in ranks. She is pretending to be a man though. So there's this scene in this book where there's this like big battle scene, and she ends up getting injured, and the hero figures out that she is a woman, and he was already kind of becoming obsessed with her like as a man, and was like, oh, I'm not really attracted to men, but there's something about this guy, and then he realizes she's a woman and is like, oh my God, like I am insanely attracted to you, and she's attracted to him. And so in this book, they have to pretend to be husband and wife while she's getting better. And then after that happens, she's still in the army, like under him, and still fighting and stuff, which I loved, like woman empowerment. Because sometimes in mafia romances, like the women are just like, oh, like I'll just be, you know, docile or not assume my position because now I'm with this hero now. But she's like, no, like I still want to be in the army, and they kind of start hooking up. And the hero is just so like stalkerish, very dark. He becomes completely obsessed with the heroine, and it's fantastic. I love this so much. The series, it's very, very fast-paced, very binge worthy. Like I said, I read it in 3 days, this whole series on audio. The audiobooks are amazing, by the way. And I just love this so much. I love like the angst of it. I loved how obsessed the hero was with the heroine, like creepily obsessed with her in a creepy sense, but like it didn't bother me. And I really, really enjoyed this series. So if you want a really good mafia romance series to binge, I would pick this one up by Rena Kent. Then I have Lights Out by Navessa Allen. I listened to this on audio and the audiobook is so freaking good. This is a stalker romance where the heroine, she has kind of been obsessed with this guy's videos where he does these kind of like sexy tease videos, and he wears a mask. And she has left comments on his videos before and it's like, you're so hot, like I want you to do that to me. And he kind of figures out who she is, and he realizes that she is the ex-girlfriend of his roommate, and he's kind of always had a crush on her, and he's kind of like, I want to see like what her desires are, like what her kinks are. And he's kind of like testing her limits. So an example of this is he literally goes to her apartment and is on her bed and does a video there. And she's like, what the heck? Is that my house? And she's kind of starts getting creeped out. But then he keeps coming back and is wearing the mask, and she doesn't know his identity, but they kind of start doing stuff, and it is so freaking good. I actually loved how like sweet this was, even though it's a darker stalker romance. Like he is just so like cinnamon roll hero for her, very caretaking vibe, and it is so good. I love this one, and I loved how he would do these videos like in her house or like on her bed, and she would be like, oh, like it was kind of like reality versus, you know, is this my fantasy or is this real? And there's a really fun suspense element with this one towards the end, and I just really, really enjoyed it, and I really loved their relationship, and it was a lot of fun. The next one I want to talk about is Business Casual by B.K. Borison. I listened to this on audio, and this book is so good. It's definitely a top read of the year. So the heroine and hero, it kind of starts off with them at the heroine's brother's wedding, and she kind of makes a flippant comment like, I want to have a one-night stand with you. And he's like, what? Because they're not really friends. They're kind of acquaintances. They kind of like don't like each other, but she has had a major crush on him for years and just wants to have like a one-night stand, and he feels the same. And so they kind of go, like at first he's like, no. And then she's like, why? and he's like, I just was shocked that you asked me. And so they end up having a one-night stand, and they kind of start this like friends with benefits type situation. And oh my God, this book is so good because they start catching feelings, and they're kind of downing their feelings, but then they're like hanging out more and more and hooking up more. And it's so good. I don't know how to describe this book in a sense that shows how much I love it. Like, I don't know why this worked so well for me. I feel like it's definitely my favorite book in the series. She is a tattoo artist, and I love that the hero is kind of deemed as this like lovable, goofy guy, but like he's so much deeper than that as a person. So I love this one. It's fantastic. It's so good. The audiobook was amazing. Oh, it's just a favorite. Then I have Stealing Sunshine by Hannah Cohen. Sorry, my light is like, because this is a glossy cover anyways, I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to deal with it for 2 minutes. But this one is such a good sapphic small town romance. So our heroine Daisy, she is staying with her brother. She just moved to this small town to be closer to her family and to start a new job as a teacher. And she's staying with her brother at the moment, and she kind of is realizing like this isn't gonna work anymore because he has a girlfriend, and they're kind of loud at night, and she's like, I need to not live with you. And so her brother asks his whole friend group like, hey, does anybody have an extra room where my sister could stay until she finds an apartment, yada yada. And the only person that has an extra room is Bryce, our other heroine, and she does not want Daisy to stay with her because Bryce has been insanely attracted to Daisy for years, but she has never crossed that line because she doesn't know if Daisy would feel the same. And so she kind of begrudgingly agrees. And so Daisy ends up moving in with Bryce, And Bryce kind of gets into a situation where she needs someone to fake date with because her parents keep setting her up with guys, and she's like, I'm attracted to women, girls, like I don't want to date a guy right now, and they just won't listen to her. And so Daisy is like, we should fake date to get your mom off your back. And Bryce agrees, and it's so good. Bryce is also a tattoo artist, so we have some like fun, spicy tattoo scenes, but I just love this like grumpy sunshine aspect of Bryce being very grumpy and just closed off because of kind of like her parents, especially her mom, and how she's treated her whole life. And Daisy kind of like opens up her eyes to the world and is kind of like, you are loved, like I am insanely attracted to you. And once they kind of realize that they both are insanely attracted to each other, it's like game over, and it's so freaking good. I don't read a ton of sapphic romances because I don't know why. I need to read more because this book, it was so good and I loved it so much. So if you want a sapphic small town romance, I would check out that one because it is amazing. Then I have two books that are probably, like, again, favorites of the year, and that is Saving Six by Chloe Walsh and Redeeming Six. So currently I am reading Redeeming Six right now. I finished Saving Six. This is Joey and Aoife's story. And these books are so messy and angsty and emotional because this one, I really appreciated that we went back into their full past of them meeting when they were in middle school. And it's definitely like right person, wrong time because they just feel such insane chemistry and attraction towards each other. But Joey is like, I can't be with you and give you the love that you deserve at this moment because of my family life. He is in a very abusive home. And so that kind of stops them from having a relationship for years. And Aoife ends up dating this guy who is just not good for her, but she's staying with him because of her parents' relationship. Like they are in a relationship, and her dad has been cheating on her mom, and she just feels like she's kind of in this like static point. And once Joey and Aoife finally give in to their attraction for each other, it is so good, but it's so angsty and emotional and just completely incredible. And we go through so much with these characters. This does deal heavily with drug addiction, so know that going in. It is a big part of both of these books. And yeah, I would just check the triggers for both of these books because we deal with a lot of heavy topics, and just seeing like Joey struggle, because it's just so heartbreaking because like, you know what he's going through, and the only way he can cope with that is with drugs, and it is just so heartbreaking. And I just love this series so much. It's so good. And Redeeming Six, like, this book is insane. Like Redeeming Six, I'm like 30% through. Because this book is literally 750 pages and I'm reading it on my Kindle, but it is so freaking good, but just so emotional. And I don't know, I just like need to take breaks when reading this book because I'm like, I can't handle this anymore. Like, this is just too emotionally taxing, but it's so good. And I also love seeing that we get to see kind of the outside view of Johnny and Shannon's romance as well, which is really interesting, and I really love that. So love those two. And that's the last book I wanted to mention in this video, but I am completely obsessed with so many of these romances. I've been reading really good books lately, and I'm so happy about that. But definitely let me know if you've read any of these romances, what your favorites are. I would love to know. And leave me the emoji of like the cry tear emoji. It's not like the full sobbing, but it's like the tear-eyed one for Saving and Redeeming Six. But I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.